Hello, friends. Welcome again to SpeakNest English Podcast Zone, your space to learn real-life English, step by step. Today's episode is all about job interviews and self-introductions. Whether you're a student, a job seeker, or someone re-entering the workforce, this episode is for you. Let's get ready to make a powerful first impression.
Today, we're tackling something really foundational. How to properly nail your English introductions. For job interviews, but other situations too.
Absolutely crucial stuff.
Yeah, so whether you're maybe a student looking for that first role, or you're actively job hunting, or maybe even thinking about getting back into the workforce, this is for you.
Right.
Our main goal today really is just to give you those first tools, to make a really powerful first impression.
Yeah, definitely. Your introduction, it's like your opening move, isn't it?
It really is.
It just sets the tone for, everything else that comes after.
And where does this really, really matter?
Well, job interviews, primarily. With that, that question that seems so simple but often trips people up, tell me about yourself.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that one. Tell me about yourself. Why do you think it throws so many people off? Is it just too broad?
I think so, yeah. It feels huge, but, we've looked at our sources and kind of boiled it down.
Right. We've got some core ideas here, a solid starting point. Think of it maybe like a basic structure, a two-part thing to build on.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. And look, we're not talking about your entire life story here.
No, definitely not.
Just a concise, relevant snapshot. So the first part, your name, obviously, and just a brief bit about your background.
Okay, so name and background.
Yeah. This is where you say who you are and give a really quick glimpse.
Yeah.
Where you're coming from professionally or, academically.
Like the headline?
Kind of, yeah. Like the headline for your professional story. What's the hook?
So it's a bit more than just, hi, I'm name.
Right. It needs a little context.
Okay, so for example, if you're just graduating, you might say something like, hi, I'm your name. I just finished my degree in marketing at X University, and I really focused on digital campaigns. Something like that.
Perfect. See how that adds a little something, bit more substance.
Yeah, it does.
And that actually leads us really smoothly into the second point.
Which?
Your education or your work experience. Now, obviously, which one you emphasize depends a bit on where you are currently.
Right. So students, recent grads, education first.
Exactly. That's likely your most relevant experience. So you'd highlight coursework, maybe key projects, specific areas of study, anything that really aligns with where you're trying to go.
Got it. And then if you do have some work experience.
Well, then that's your focus. This is your chance to briefly, and I mean briefly.
Yeah. Briefly is key.
Mention your previous role, maybe the industry. We're not getting into the day-to-day tasks just yet. It's just about painting a quick picture of your professional journey so far.
It's interesting how those two pieces, name, background, and then education work, just fit together.
They do. It creates that initial picture.
Yeah.
And it's a really basic framework, honestly, that anyone can adapt.
Even someone, say, returning to work after a break.
Yeah, absolutely. They could briefly mention their previous career, maybe, and then point out skills they've kept up or perhaps updated while they were away.
Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly recap. The essential first step, especially for that tell me about yourself moment. Start with your name, add a concise bit of background.
Right.
Then follow that straight away with a focused overview of your education or your relevant work history.
Simple structure, but really effective as that starting block.
It really is.
And, this brings up a good question for you listening right now.
Okay.
Think about the next time you'll need to introduce yourself professionally. Could be an interview, could be networking, even just a quick meeting intro.
Right.
How can you take this basic structure, name and background, then education or work, and just tailor it? Make that initial impact a bit stronger.
Good question. Like, what's your specific hook for that situation?
Exactly. What's the hook in your background, and what parts of your education or work are most relevant right then?
It's basic, yeah. But it's such a powerful starting point for building out a really compelling introduction. Think about that. We're really focusing in on something pretty critical for anyone looking for opportunities.
Yeah, we're talking about how you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Especially, in job interviews.
Exactly. It matters whether you're, say, a student, actively job hunting, or maybe returning to work after a break.
Nailing that first impression is just so key.
So our mission today, really, is to give you that edge. Let's jump straight into maybe the most common interview opener there is.
Ah, yes, the classic. Tell me about yourself.
Right. And it sounds simple, but it's your starting block, isn't it?
It really is. It's your chance right off the bat to frame who you are professionally. Think of it like your personal headline.
A headline. I like that. You want to grab their attention, make them interested?
Precisely. Make them want to know more.
Okay, but it can feel so broad, you know? Like, where do you even start?
Well, that's where structure comes in handy. Our sources, they point towards a pretty effective, straightforward way to handle it.
Keeps you focused.
Exactly. It basically boils down to, say, 4 core pieces.
All right, let's break that down. What's piece number 1?
Okay, first, just your name and, maybe where you're from or your current situation, very briefly.
Simple enough. What's next?
Second, a quick mention of your studies or your relevant background, just the essentials.
Got it. Background check. Third,
and this is important, spotlight your key skills. What are you good at that matters for this role?
highlighting relevance. And at the last piece.
And finally, number 4, just a glimpse of your goals. What are you looking for? Where do you want to go?
Name, background, skills, goals. Okay.
What's really kind of powerful about this is the simplicity. You hit these 4 points clearly, concisely.
If you've given them a snapshot, a really memorable one.
Yeah, and it shows you can communicate well, that you get what's important right away.
Okay, let's make this concrete. We have an example, right? Someone named Amina.
Yes, let's use Amina. So she might say something like, "Hi, I'm Amina. I'm originally from Kenya."
Okay, name and origin, check.
Then I studied computer science at Nairobi University.
Background.
Check. For the past 2 years, I've been working as a junior developer.
Experience linked to skills.
Exactly. She might add, where I really enjoyed honing my problem solving and learning new technologies.
Nice touch. Shows enthusiasm and specifies skills.
And then the goal. I'm now looking for a role where I can, continue to grow and really contribute to a dynamic team.
Perfect. See how neat that is? Name, origin, study, experience, skills, goal. All in a few sentences.
And notice, it's not just a list. She's hinting at her strengths, her ambition. It's efficient.
Connects the dots for the interviewer.
Yeah. And thinking bigger picture, an approach like that, it just signals confidence, direction right from the start.
So, okay, for you listening right now, the real task is to take the structure and, well, make it yours.
Absolutely. Personalize it.
Ask yourself, okay, what's my name and relevant origin point? What's the key thing about my background?
What skills do I really want them to know about immediately?
And what kind of role, what kind of growth am I actually aiming for?
And importantly, actually try saying it out loud.
Oh, definitely. Practice it. Keep it short. Keep it clear. Project confidence. Even if you have to fake it a bit at first.
That actually brings up a good point. How often do we really prepare this very first fundamental intro?
It's easy to overlook, isn't it? You focus on the tough questions later.
Yeah, but spending just a few minutes structuring this, it can make such a difference to your confidence, your impact.
It really sets the tone.
It's about being intentional. Those first words count for a lot.
Totally agree. A strong self-introduction, it's not just, ticking a box for that question. It's creating that positive vibe.
Sets the stage for everything else that follows in the conversation.
And mastering this, even this basic skill, it builds a foundation. You feel more solid going into the rest of it.
And that clarity, it's surprisingly powerful, actually, when you can state clearly who you are, what you're looking for.
It makes it easier for others to see where you might fit.
Exactly, and how they might even be able to help you or connect you. Opens doors.
Okay, so as we wrap up this quick, but I think really vital deep dive, here's something to chew on.
Go for it.
Beyond just the job interview setting, think about this. How could getting really clear, really confident in articulating your background, your skills, your goals, how could that unlock unexpected opportunities?
Unexpected connections throughout your whole professional life.
Yeah, something to think about. Okay, so you're heading into an interview and you really want to project that confidence, right?
Absolutely. Feel like you've got this.
Exactly, that professional vibe. Well, that's kind of what we're diving into today. Looking at some, fundamental English for those key interview moments.
Using simple language effectively.
Right. We've got 2 really common questions we're going to unpack.
Looking at some solid basic answers.
And figuring out why they actually work.
Yeah, the goal is really to give you some practical ways to think about framing your strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, let's jump right in then. First up, what are your strengths?
The classic.
Yeah. So the example answer we're looking at is, My strength is that I'm a quick learner. I also work well in a team.
Seems simple enough.
It does, but what makes that a strong, dependable answer? Like, what's the power behind that simplicity?
Well, I think it's the directness, and also the universal appeal. Being a quick learner, I mean, that signals you're adaptable, right? That you can get up to speed pretty efficiently.
Which is huge, because workplaces change constantly.
Exactly. Things are always evolving. So someone who can absorb new stuff quickly, that's a real asset.
Yeah, employers definitely want someone who can, hit the ground running.
For sure.
And then the second part, I also work well in a team. That almost feels like, well, shouldn't everyone? But how crucial is it to state that?
It's foundational, really, in most jobs anyway.
Yeah.
Being able to collaborate, communicate clearly, contribute positively to a group, it's vital. So saying it directly shows you understand that.
So even though it's brief, it hits two major things employers are listening for.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
Covers key bases.
Now, thinking about you, the listener, our source doesn't give specific examples, but to make this feel more real, what should you be thinking about personally?
Well, that's a great point, because just saying it is one thing.
Right.
You need to connect it to your own experience. So maybe think of a specific time you did learn something fast, or a project where your teamwork really made a difference.
Even just having that example in your head.
Yeah, exactly. It adds authenticity, even if you don't spell out the whole story right then. Makes your delivery more convincing.
Got it. Okay, let's pivot to the other big one, maybe the trickier one. What are your weaknesses?
Yes, the one everyone dreads a little bit.
Totally. So the example answer here is, I sometimes get nervous speaking in front of large groups, but I'm improving by practicing regularly.
Okay.
What makes this, a smart way to handle it?
I think it's the combination. It's honest, but it's also proactive.
How so?
Well, first, admitting a weakness shows self-awareness. You're not pretending to be perfect.
Right, which is more believable anyway.
Definitely. And the phrasing, sometimes get nervous. That's relatable, isn't it? It doesn't sound like some fatal flaw.
Yeah, it's not like I freeze up completely. It's manageable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then the crucial part is that second half.
But I'm improving by practicing regularly.
Yes, that's absolutely key. It shows you're not just accepting the weakness.
You're doing something about it.
You're actively working on it. That demonstrates what people call a growth mindset.
Ah, okay. Tell me more about that. Why is that so valued?
That's all for today's
it
episode of
shows
SpeakNest English
you see areas
Podcast
for
Zone.
development.
Remember, you don't
not
need
as
big words.
fixed problems,
You just
but
need
as
real
opportunities
practice.
to get better.
Speak
Yeah.
at home.
And you're taking
speak
the
while
initiative
walking.
yourself.
So it
and
turns
most
a potential
importantly,
negative
speak
into
without
a
fear.
positive signal
See you
about
next
your
time,
attitude and
where
your
we'll go
commitment
deeper and
to
make English more natural and
self-improvement.
powerful
Okay,
for
that
your
makes a
real
lot of
life.
sense. So the
Until
takeaway
then,
for weaknesses
keep smiling
is
and
be
keep
honest,
speaking English.
but frame it around improvement.
Precisely. Show you're aware and show you're actively growing. Employers get that nobody's perfect.
They're looking for that awareness and that drive.
Exactly right.
All right, so wrapping this up then. We've seen how simple, clear language works for strengths, focusing on things like being a quick learner, being a team player.
Yeah, hitting those core needs.
And for weaknesses, it's that honesty combined with showing demonstrable improvement.
It's about being concise, focusing on those essential qualities, and showing that positive, forward-looking attitude.
What's interesting is it's not about fancy words.
Not at all. It's about clarity, thoughtful articulation of, who you are and how you approach work. That's what builds confidence in communication.
So for you listening, maybe take these frameworks, the strengths, the weaknesses approach, and think, how could this apply to other interview questions?
Yeah, what other scenarios could you tackle using this idea of simple, professional, and growth-focused language?
Something to think about. Into something really practical, job interviews. Specifically, using English effectively for those key moments, like introducing yourself and answering questions.
Yeah, it's about sounding professional, sure, but also confident. We've got some basic examples for common questions.
Right. But our mission here is to dig a bit deeper than just the basics. We want to give you the why behind these answers so you feel truly prepared.
Exactly. Give you a framework,
Okay, let's jump in. A classic one. Why do you want this job?
Ah, yes. The example we have is, I believe this job matches my skills and interests. I want to grow with your company.
Seems simple enough on the surface. Maybe too simple.
Well, maybe, but let's unpack it. That first bit, matches my skills and interests. It sounds straightforward, but it's doing some heavy lifting.
How so?
It tells the interviewer, You've actually looked at the job description. You've thought about your skills and how they align. It's not generic.
Right. It shows you're not just, spamming applications. You've targeted this role.
Precisely. It implies self-awareness and genuine interest. They want someone invested.
Okay, and the second part, I want to grow with your company.
That hits on ambition, but also potential loyalty. Companies put resources into training.
So they want to see you sticking around.
Yeah, exactly. It suggests you see a future there. You're not just looking for a stepping stone. It reduces their perceived risk, sort of.
Makes sense. So concise, but it covers motivation and future intent.
Now, what about that other big question? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
The crystal ball question. The example is, I see myself in a leadership role, helping the team succeed and continuing to learn.
Okay, so this one's strategic too. Leadership role shows ambition, right? Drive.
But it's balanced, isn't it, by the next part?
That's the key. Helping the team succeed. It's not just about your climb. It shows you're like a team player, invested in collective success. That counters any purely selfish ambition vibe.
Which can definitely be a turnoff for managers.
Absolutely. And then there's that final piece.
Continuing to learn. Seems vital nowadays.
Totally. It signals adaptability, a growth mindset. That you won't just plateau. You'll evolve with the job, the company, the industry.
So these examples give solid foundations for expressing your present fit and future goals. What's the main thing you, the listener, should take away?
It's really about making these your own. The source material says, write your own answers using these as a guide.
Yes. Don't just memorize these lines verbatim.
Because it won't sound authentic, will it? Tailoring it to your experience, your specific skills, maybe even mentioning something specific about that company.
That's where the real confidence comes from, when you believe what you're saying because it's genuinely yours.
Think about weaving in a specific project you did, or how your 5-year goal aligns with a known company initiative. That shows deeper engagement.
So quick recap then. For why this job, link skills interests to the role, express growth desire.
And for 5 years, show leadership potential tied to team success, plus that commitment to learning.
But the crucial step, the real action item for you, is personalization.
Right. Reflect, adapt, make it sound like you.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Think about how you could subtly connect your answers not just to the job description, but maybe to a challenge you know the company is facing or an opportunity you see for them.
Ooh, that's next level.
It elevates it from just answering the question to demonstrating real strategic value. That can make a big impression. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something really key for professional success.
Yeah, how to really use English well in job interviews, self-introductions, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And we've pulled together some super practical vocabulary from our source material to help with that. So our mission today is pretty clear. Give you specific English words to, boost your confidence and just make a better impression in those interview situations.
Absolutely. It's about choosing language that really clearly shows your value, makes you memorable.
Okay, let's get right into it then. Our source lists 10 keywords. First up, experience. We all have it right, but how do you make it count?
Well, what's interesting here is thinking beyond just listing old jobs.
Right.
When you talk about experience, try framing it with strong action verbs. And if you can, add some results, even approximate ones.
So instead of just saying managed a team.
Yeah, maybe something like experienced in leading a team that achieved, say, a 15% increase in X. It's about showing that impact, you see.
That makes sense. A huge difference, actually. Okay, next word. Skills.
Skills.
We all list them, but how do we present them effectively?
Well, a key question is, are you being specific enough? It's easy to say good communication skills.
Sure, everyone says that.
Exactly. But think about a specific time you use those skills. Maybe resolved a conflict or explain something complicated really clearly. That specificity shows your skills in action.
Got it. Show, don't just tell. Okay, then there's teamwork. Super important in most workplaces.
Oh, definitely. And if you connect it to the bigger picture, teamwork isn't just, being nice to people. It's showing you understand how teams work, how you contribute to shared goals, maybe how you've supported colleagues. Think about examples where collaboration really paid off.
Good point. Okay, moving on. Responsibility. This is about ownership, right?
Yes. And what really stands out is showing accountability. So when you use the word responsibility, maybe you have a quick story ready. Right. Like a time you really owned a task, dealt with challenges, and made sure it got done right. even if it wasn't smooth sailing initially.
Right, showing you stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay, deadline. Another key one, especially if things move fast.
Employers definitely want to know you can manage your time and, deliver.
So when talking about deadlines,
you could mention how you prioritize things or maybe strategies you use to make sure you hit those targets, even when things get hectic.
Makes sense. Then we have goals. This touches on ambition. How should we talk about goals in an interview?
Well, what's really effective is aligning your personal goals with what the company is trying to achieve or with the role itself.
Showing you've done your homework.
Exactly. It shows you're thinking ahead and how this job fits into your bigger picture.
Okay. Strengths. This is where we get to highlight the positives. Any tips here?
Yeah, instead of just listing adjectives, hardworking, detail-oriented, stuff like that, give a concrete example, something that really illustrates that strength and the positive effect it had. Again, show it.
Show, don't tell. Got it. Communication. Crucial everywhere. Yeah. How do we demo that during the interview?
Well, beyond just speaking clearly, think about active listening.
How so?
Making eye contact, nodding, maybe briefly summarizing what the interviewer said before you answer. Even asking good, clarifying questions shows strong communication right there in the moment.
Good point. Okay, nearly there. Motivation. Why this?
Yeah, this is your chance to show some real enthusiasm. Don't just give generic answers.
Right.
Try to connect your motivation to something specific about the company or the role itself or your own long-term plans. What actually excites you about this opportunity?
Be specific and genuine. Okay, and the last word, opportunity.
Using opportunity thoughtfully shows you see the potential in the role, right? For your own growth.
But also
frame it as mutual benefit. What you hope to gain, sure, but also what you plan to contribute. It's a two-way street.
Excellent. So that's our list. Experience, skills, teamwork, responsibility, deadline, goals, strengths, communication, motivation, and opportunity. These aren't just words.
Not at all. They're tools.
Yeah.
And the real key is to consciously try and weave, say, 2 or 3 of these into your answers next time, backed up by those specific examples we talked about.
Yeah, make them work for you.
Exactly.
So today we're looking at something super relevant, how to really succeed in online job interviews using the right English strategies.
Exactly. It's become such a standard way of interviewing.
For sure. So we've pulled together some specific advice, really focusing on, practical phrases and techniques. The goal is to help you communicate professionally, confidently in this virtual world.
Think of it as getting straight to the good stuff. We're aiming to pull out the most, actionable tips from research on what actually works in these online settings.
All about making sure your clarity and confidence really come through the screen.
Yeah, absolutely, no matter where you are physically.
Okay, so let's jump in. First up, something maybe obvious but still critical, the technical setup. We all know, check your Wi-Fi, but why is it so important, really? Beyond just, not dropping the call.
Well, what's interesting is how a smooth tech experience subtly sends a message. It says you're prepared, you're professional, you respect their time.
Right. It sets a tone.
Definitely. And if something does go wrong, having a simple phrase ready like, oh, excuse me, looks like I have a slight technical issue here, lets you handle it without panic. Keeps it smooth.
Okay, good point. Building on that, how we actually communicate. The advice always says, speak slowly, speak clearly. Sounds simple, but what's the real impact online?
There's often that tiny delay online. Speaking a bit slower compensates for that. It gives the interviewer a beat to process what you're saying.
Okay.
And it also helps you articulate better. You sound more deliberate, more confident, not robotic, just mindful.
Mindful of the medium. I like that. Okay, and then there's the whole virtual presence thing. Looking at the camera, it feels unnatural sometimes, like you're staring. Why is that pushed so much?
Yeah, it can feel odd. But what our sources really highlight is how that virtual eye contact kind of bridges the physical distance.
Okay.
It mimics that face-to-face engagement. It tells them you're focused, you're listening. A tip, try focusing just near the camera lens, not directly into it maybe. Can feel a bit more natural.
Good tip. Our sources also talk about having polite phrases ready, like asking if you can be heard clearly at the start. Why bother with that?
It's about being considerate, really, and practical.
How so?
Well, it lets you fix any potential audio problems before they interrupt the flow. Just a quick, can you hear me okay? Can save hassle later.
Makes sense.
And same goes for things like, could you please repeat the question? Or even, may I just take a moment on that? It shows you're committed to understanding and answering well, especially, if English isn't your first language, it's professional.
So really, connecting this back for you, the listener, it's not just about having the right answers, is it? It's very much about how you deliver them in this specific online format.
Precisely. These tips aren't just isolated tricks. They all add up to create an overall impression, confidence, clarity.
Oh, right.
And thinking about prep, too, maybe prepare some concise answers beforehand. Knowing roughly what you want to say helps you deliver it clearly and, well, deliberately when you're live.
That's a crucial point. Preparation feeds into that delivery. Okay, so quick recap then. Speak clearly, maybe a little slower than usual. Focus on that virtual eye contact. Find a way that works for you. And have those polite, just-in-case phrases ready.
Yeah. Ultimately, success online comes down to combining your actual skills and experience with a communication style that's confident, clear, and just adapted for the virtual world.
Well said. And just to leave you with something to think about, these strategies we discussed, the clear speaking, the virtual presence, handling hiccups politely, these aren't just for job interviews, are they?
Good point.
Think about how you could apply these techniques to, say, any important online meeting or a presentation. Where else in your virtual communication could a bit more focused clarity and confidence make a difference? Definitely something to mull. We're really getting into something vital. Job interviews. Specifically, how to handle them and introduce yourself effectively using, well, good English communication.
Exactly. We've got some material to guide us, and the goal really is to pull out some practical, actionable stuff for you.
Right. We want to equip you with, phrases and strategies to make that strong first impression. Super important in professional settings, especially interviews.
And we're aiming to go a bit deeper than just surface-level tips, sort of understanding why certain things work, like the structure behind confident speaking.
Okay, let's dive right in then. That classic opening, maybe slightly dreaded question. Tell me about yourself.
Yes. The source material gives us a pretty good example response, something like, "My name is Louis. I recently completed my degree in marketing.
I'm passionate about digital media, and I've done internships in social media management. So what makes that tick? Why is it effective? It seems simple."
Well, it's the structure, isn't it? The sequence. Name first, sure, that's standard. But then recently completed my degree, that signals you're current, relevant. It's a subtle cue.
Okay, yeah. Not just I have a degree, but recently completed. Got it.
Then linking passion, passionate about digital media, makes it personal but still professional. And crucially, backing it up with the internship experience.
Right. The social media management part, it shows you didn't just study it, you actually did something.
Exactly. It proves you've applied that passion. So in, 3 sentences, you've got name, relevant education, interest, and practical experience. It's concise.
Like a highlight reel for the interviewer, focused on what matters for the job. Okay, good. Let's move to another big one. Why should we hire you?
The example here is, I'm hardworking, I learn fast, and I'm very creative. I believe I can bring fresh ideas to your team.
So breaking that down, hardworking, quick learner, creative, standard strengths maybe, but what elevates it?
It's that last part, I think. I believe I can bring fresh ideas to your team. It connects your personal attributes directly to a potential contribution.
So it's not just I'm creative, it's my creativity means fresh ideas for you. It shows you're thinking about their context, their team.
Precisely. It shows initiative, a forward-thinking attitude. You're not just listing traits, you're proposing value. How can you specifically help them?
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. It shifts from self-focus to company focus, makes you sound like someone who will actually contribute solutions.
Definitely. From their side, hearing that makes you a much more attractive candidate, doesn't it? You sound eager to contribute.
Absolutely. Now, the material we reviewed stresses something really practical for making all this work smoothly. Practice.
Right. The advice is specific. Do mock interviews, like 3 or 4 times. Maybe even record yourself. Why bother with that repetition?
Good question. Does it just make you memorize lines?
Well, yes and no. It builds fluency, so it sounds less like you're reading from a script and more natural. Saying it out loud helps smooth out the phrasing.
Okay, so it's about the delivery becoming more comfortable.
And recording yourself. That's powerful. You catch things you wouldn't otherwise notice. Your pacing, maybe filler words, awkward pauses, things that can subtly undermine your confidence.
Yeah, I can see that. Like rehearsing a presentation, you iron out the kinks, you feel more prepared when you actually have to do it for real.
Exactly. Repetition helps internalize the key points, the structure. So when you're under pressure in the actual interview, you can deliver it with more confidence, more assurance.
Okay, so let's quickly sum up the main takeaways here. Tell me about yourself. Structure is key. Name, recent education, relevant passion, actual experience.
Right. Concise and relevant.
And for why hire you, list key strengths, but critically, link them directly to how you'll benefit their team. Show that contribution.
Focus on the value you bring.
And underpinning all of this is practice. Rehearse, maybe record yourself, build that fluency and confidence. It really does make a difference.
And maybe one more thing to layer on top. These are frameworks, right? Basic structures. The real magic happens when you tailor them.
Tailor them how?
To your specific background, your unique achievements, and importantly, to the specific requirements of that particular job you're interviewing for. It shows you've done your homework.
That's a fantastic point. It makes it much more impactful than a generic answer. So here's a final thought for you to take away. How can you infuse these basic structures with your own specific stories and genuine enthusiasm for this role to leave a truly unique and lasting positive impression?
Something definitely worth considering.
Okay, so you're tuning in because you want to sound, professional and confident in English, especially for things like job interviews, maybe introducing yourself. Our deep dive today is really about cutting straight to the chase. We're pulling out key phrases from some material focused specifically on this, how to sound confident in those moments. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it's interesting how using specific language quite strategically can really shape how you're perceived professionally. It's definitely more than just having perfect grammar.
Absolutely. So our source material points to some really powerful phrases for job interviews. First one, I'm eager to learn. What's the real impact there?
Well, saying I'm eager to learn right away, it sort of signals you're proactive. And it shows a growth mindset, right? It tells them you're invested in developing your skills. You're not just, passively waiting for information. It's much stronger than saying you're willing to learn.
Yeah, willing can sound a bit passive. Eager shows initiative for sure. Okay, another phrase the source mentions is, I'm excited about this opportunity. What does that convey?
Ah, excited. That word carries weight. It suggests genuine interest and real enthusiasm for that specific role, that company. It implies you've actually looked into it, done your homework.
Right, so it doesn't feel like just another application you fired off.
Exactly, and that authentic excitement, it can actually be quite contagious.
It definitely makes a difference. Okay, then there's I adapt quickly to new environments. Why highlight that one?
Well, in today's world, things change so fast, don't they? So demonstrating adaptability, that's really key. It reassures employers. It tells them you can likely handle change, uncertainty, that you'll get up to speed and contribute effectively, even if things feel unfamiliar at first.
Makes total sense. Resilience is huge. And finally, the source emphasizes, I'm looking forward to contributing. What's the core message there?
That phrase, looking forward to contributing, it cleverly shifts the focus. It moves from what you hope to gain to the value you plan to bring to the team. It highlights that you're proactive, you're team-oriented, and you're focused on making a real impact.
Okay, good point. Now, the source does stress something important, though. Just memorizing these phrases isn't really the goal, is it?
Oh, definitely not. Authenticity is absolutely crucial here. Just rattling them off won't sound confident at all. You need to actually understand the meaning, the intent behind them.
So you internalize it.
Exactly. Internalize that confident intent and then, adapt the phrasing slightly so it sounds like you, fits your experience, and fits the specific context of the conversation. Natural usage is key.
Right. And these aren't strictly for formal interviews, are they? The source suggests they're useful elsewhere, too.
Precisely. Think about self-introductions in any professional setting, networking events, team meetings. Mastering these kinds of concise expressions of confidence, they can help create a really powerful first impression anywhere.
So the main takeaway here seems to be that using specific, well-understood phrases like, I'm eager to learn, or I'm excited about this opportunity, I adapt quickly, and I'm looking forward to contributing, these can genuinely boost how confident you seem.
They really can. The key is understanding them, practicing, and making them your own.
It's about using intentional language.
Absolutely. Choosing phrases like these consciously, it projects capability, confidence. It's quite powerful.
Okay, so for you listening, maybe take a moment to think about how you could naturally weave some of these ideas, these phrases, into your own communication. How could they help you make a more positive impact? And perhaps consider what other aspects of professional English communication would you like us to explore? We jump right into a topic so you get the core insights fast.
Yeah, no getting bogged down. You want to feel informed quickly, and that's what we aim for.
Exactly. So today, we're tackling job interviews, self-introductions, basically how to approach them with, well, confidence.
And we're drawing on some resources aimed at English language learners, which is interesting.
Right, but our mission here is to pull out those key strategies that work for anyone trying to present themselves professionally, regardless of language level.
It's fascinating because, yeah, they're for English learners, but the core advice, it really applies across the board, doesn't it?
Totally. We all need to make that good impression.
These insights kind of cut through the noise, I think. Focus on what really matters.
Okay, so let's start with self-introductions. The material we looked at really stresses having a strong intro ready.
Makes sense. It's your first shot, right?
Yeah.
Interview, networking, whatever.
Yeah. It didn't spell out exactly what to say word for word, but the emphasis was clear. Be prepared. Present yourself professionally, like right off the bat.
Think of it like a mini pitch. Who you are, maybe a key skill, why you're there.
Just a solid foundation, sets the tone.
Exactly.
Okay, so building on that first impression, the sources then mention common interview questions, which, let's be honest, can be pretty nerve-wracking.
We all know those are coming, yeah.
But here's the pivot I found really interesting. It moves away from just having perfect answers and focuses much more on, like, your effort, your attitude.
Ah, yes. This is a big one. There's a line in there, your English does not define your talent.
That really stood out to me, too. It's powerful.
It totally reframes it.
Yeah.
It suggests that, companies often value just seeing you try, seeing you show up, be honest.
More than, say, flawless grammar.
Often, yeah. It's that willingness, that genuine attempt to communicate.
That's such a great aha moment, isn't it? Realizing your effort, just being your authentic self, is actually well valued, highly valued.
It really challenges that whole idea that you need perfect language skills above all else.
Right. It puts the spotlight back on things like dedication,
Yeah.
positive mindset, things everyone has.
Transferable qualities, yeah.
And it keeps going with that encouragement. The sources say things like, you are learning, you are growing.
And you deserve a seat at the table.
Yes. I found that so empowering. It's like a direct shot of confidence.
It is. And it reminds you that this is all a process, a journey. Professional growth isn't instant.
Makes you think, how often do we let what we think are weaknesses overshadow our actual strengths?
Good point. It's a reminder to see your own value wherever you are in that learning curve.
So, boiling it down for you listening, confidence in these professional settings, it isn't just about perfect English.
Not at all. It's the attitude you bring, right? The effort people see.
And your unique value, your personality, your drive, that stuff companies are actually looking for.
Precisely. It's more holistic. Communication's important, sure, but it's one piece.
Enthusiasm, wanting to learn, being a good team fit.
Those count for a lot, sometimes more.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. The main takeaway seems crystal clear. Interviews, introductions, especially if you're navigating language stuff, your genuine effort, your positive attitude, those are massive assets.
Yeah, it's less about chasing perfection right now.
And more about just showing up authentically, showing your potential.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
Consider this. What if you intentionally focused more on your strengths, your eagerness to grow, instead of, fixating on any language limits you perceive?
Yeah.
How might that change things?
Not just in interviews, but maybe all professional interactions.
Exactly. Something to think about.
And that's the end of episode 29 on SpeakNest English Podcast Zone. Today you learned how to introduce yourself, how to answer common interview questions, how to sound confident. Even if you're a beginner, in the next episode, we'll explore English for public speaking and presentations, a very powerful skill for professionals, students, and leaders. Until then, believe in yourself, practice a little each day, and always keep speaking English.